Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another lecture in Geography 341, Weather and Society. I'm Dr. Zach Hilgendorf, and in this lecture, we're going to talk about a couple of different phenomena, both somewhat related to wind, so kind of continuing on with this, I guess, wind-themed series of lectures, so from derechos to dust storms, sandstorms, and haboobs, to meteotsunamis and seiches. And we'll talk about what all of these are in a few minutes, but let's go ahead and dive into it. Now we're going to start off with meteotsunamis, but before we do so, what is a tsunami in general? Well, a tsunami is just a series of extremely long waves caused by a large and sudden displacement of the ocean, typically. Usually the result of an earthquake below or near the ocean floor. This force creates waves that radiate outwards in all directions from their source, sometimes crossing entire ocean basins. Now, they can be caused by, as we see in this example here, an earthquake, subsurface or a sub-ocean earthquake, so at the bottom of the ocean floor. That can be caused by landslides under the ocean. They can also be caused by volcanic eruptions as well. So that's what a tsunami is. It's this displacement of water. So what is a meteotsunami? Well, kind of similar. Meteotsunamis are large waves that we're just now starting to really understand a bit better. Unlike tsunamis that are triggered by seismic activity, meteotsunamis are driven by air pressure disturbances often associated with fast-moving weather events like severe thunderstorms, squalls, or other storm fronts. Like an earthquake-generated tsunami, a meteotsunami affects the entire water column and can become dangerous when it hits shallow water, which causes it to slow down and increase in height and intensity. Even greater magnification can occur in semi-enclosed water bodies like harbors, inlets, or bays. A meteotsunami should not be confused with a storm surge, which basically associated with tropical storms or other large coastal storms. Storm surges are wind-driven effects that occur when strong winds push water onshore, causing water levels to steadily rise over the course of several hours. Recent research has shown that meteotsunamis are more common than previously thought, and suggest that some past events may have been mistaken for other types of coastal floods, such as storm surges or seiches, which also tend to be pretty wind-driven. Now, here we have a Great Lakes example, because these are actually something that we see somewhat regularly here in the Great Lakes regions. In stage one, you've got a storm that's passing from the west, pushing water across Lake Michigan. Water rushes towards the Michigan coastline in this example. And then on part two, that water bounces back towards Illinois. The strength of the meteotsunami can become more powerful as it heads towards Illinois and reaches that shoreline, or the shorelines of Wisconsin and Illinois here. Dangerous conditions occur along the lakefront, including rip currents and sudden rises in lake level. So here we can see a really interesting example of it. Let me go ahead and hit play here. This was a meteotsunami that had occurred, and we'll touch on this a little bit more later on, but that had occurred in April 13th of 2018. So watch, it's going to start near around 44 on the west edge of the graph. So it's going to start here and it's going to radiate out this way before kind of bouncing a little bit. So go ahead and erase those and go ahead and start the video here. You can see it picking up, and you see that difference that these are average lake or surface levels. So watch it again. Notice the orange is really high, the red is really high, the blue is very low. So we've got kind of this massive displacement of water that was driven by a kind of pressure differential, we'll say. So we'll play it one more time because it's just such a cool video. And this was actually posted by the NOAA Great Lakes Environmental Region Twitter page. So the credit to that tweet down on the bottom here. So where do they occur? Well, meteotsunamis are regional in origin and can occur all over the world. In the United States, conditions for destructive meteotsunamis are most favorable along the East Coast, the Gulf of Mexico, and in the Great Lakes, where they pose a greater threat than earthquake-generated tsunamis. Notable United States meteotsunamis include one in June 13th. Well, we saw the one in April of 2018. One in June 13th happened that despite clear skies and calm weather, tsunami-like waves crashed on the New Jersey and southern Massachusetts coasts. In Barnegat Inlet, New Jersey, 3 people were injured when a 6-foot wave swept them off a jetty and into the water. May 27th of 2012, Lake Erie, a 7-foot wave hit the shoreline near Cleveland, Ohio, sweeping beachgoers off their feet and swamping boats in harbors. October 28th of 2008, Boothbay Harbor, Maine, a series of waves up to 12 feet high emptied and flooded the harbor at least 3 times over 15 minutes, damaging boats and shoreline infrastructure. Stepping a little bit further back now, July 3rd of 1992, Daytona Beach, Florida, a 10-foot wave crashed onto the shore shortly before midnight, injuring 75 people, damaging 100 vehicles, causing property damage. If the wave had hit 4 hours later during July 4th festivities, the effects could have been drastically worse. June 26th of 1954, going way back, a 10-foot wave struck the shoreline near Chicago, Illinois, sweeping several people off the piers. 7 lives were lost in that event. Now, certain parts of the world, such as areas in the Adriatic Sea, Mediterranean Sea, and a few of Japan's gulfs and bays, are prone to meteotsunamis due to a combination of variables such as geography, weather patterns, and bathymetry, so the size, shape, and depth of the water body. The strongest meteotsunami on record struck Vela Luka, Croatia in June of 1978. This event featured 19.5-foot wave heights, lasted for several hours, and caused significant damage to the port and boats. Since then, a number of other meteotsunamis with waves exceeding 6 feet have been observed along the Croatian coast. Ciutadella Harbor and Menorca, Spain, has also experienced significant events. Meteotsunamis in 1984 and 2006 each caused tens of millions of damages to the harbor and boats within the harbor. So they happen all over the place. The problem is it's hard to predict them. There's really no predictive capabilities yet. However, that April 13th event, the 2018 one that we just looked at the GIF of to show what was actually happening, is actually helping us improve our understanding of these types of phenomena. So what happened on the afternoon of April 13th, 2018, a large wave of water surged across Lake Michigan and flooded the shores of the picturesque beach town of Ludington, Michigan, damaging homes and boat docks and flooding intake pipes. While there are currently no forecast models that effectively predict meteotsunamis in the United States, new NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, new NOAA research based on the Ludington wave demonstrates that existing NOAA numerical weather prediction models and hydrodynamic forecast models may enable scientists to predict these meteotsunami driving atmospheric waves minutes to hours in advance. So some level of warning could go out. So that's kind of cutting edge research. That's where we're at right now, which is really exciting to see that we're starting to improve. We're starting to have some idea of how to predict these kind of wild and mysterious phenomena. Continue on here. The next thing we're going to talk about are Seiches. Now, what is a Seiches? Well, this animation here shows a standing wave in black, depicted as the sum of 2 propagating waves traveling in opposite directions, the blue and the red. Similar in motion to a seesaw, a Seiche is a standing wave in which the largest vertical oscillations are at each end of the body of water, with very small oscillations at the node or the center point of the wave. Standing waves can form in any enclosed or semi-enclosed body of water, from a massive lake to a small coffee cup. Seiches are typically caused when strong winds and rapid changes in atmospheric pressure push water from one end of a body of water to the other. When the wind stops, the water rebounds to the other side of the enclosed area. The water then continues to oscillate back and forth for hours or even days. In a similar fashion, earthquakes, tsunamis, or severe storm fronts may also cause seiches along ocean shelves and ocean harbors. Lake Erie is known for seiches, especially when strong winds blow from southwest to northeast. In 1844, a 22-foot seiche breached a 14-foot high seawall, killing 78 people and damming the ice to the extent that Niagara Falls temporarily stopped flowing. As recently as 2008, strong winds created waves 12 to 16 feet high in Lake Erie, leading to flooding near Buffalo, New York. Lake Pontchartrain, Louisiana, is also known to routinely form small seiches after the passage of afternoon squall lines during the summer months. This was a really, really cool post. Again, there's another Twitter post for you. You can see the link down on the bottom there. That we had a pretty severe southwest to northeast wind, and you can see two pictures. You see on the left, the lake had dropped, water levels in the lake had dropped 7 feet below average. On the right, towards the northeast in Sunset Bay, lake levels had risen 9 feet. So basically, all that water is getting pushed by that wind and piling up over in this portion. And we can see it's pretty major towns. Here we see Detroit on the south or on the western edge. We see things like Buffalo up here. So these can be incredibly problematic and very dangerous as far as flooding and whatnot are concerned. So what's the difference? These are two distinct events. Now, I'll play this here in a second, but seiches and meteotsunamis are often grouped together. They're two different things. Wind and atmospheric pressure can contribute to the formation of both of them, both seiches and meteotsunamis. However, winds are typically more important to seiche motion, while pressure often plays a substantial role in meteotsunami formation. Sometimes a seiche and meteotsunami can even occur at the same time. Seiches are standing waves with longer periods of water level oscillations that typically exceed 3 or more hours, whereas meteotsunamis are progressive waves limited to the tsunami frequency band of wave periods. They last anywhere from 2 minutes to 2 hours. Seiches are usually limited to partially or fully enclosed basins like Lake Erie, like we just saw. Meteotsunamis can occur in these types of basins, but are also prevalent along the open coast. A single meteotsunami can travel long distances and influence a very large range of the coastline. So this video that we're going to see shows the typical kind of appearance or typical tendencies of the water surface, assuming that my little mouse here, assuming that this level here is roughly average water level, 0, we'll say. And any fluctuations above and below that are based off of the meteotsunami or the seiche. So we've got the meteotsunami on the left and the seiche on the right. Notice as we're going through, and I'll try to point it out, that the meteotsunami lasts only half as long as the seiche. And these are actually modeled after real data. So we'll go ahead and hit play here. So notice how that seiche is moving kind of much more methodically back and forth. We see, yeah, so 165 minutes for the meteotsunami, 330 minutes for the seiche. Now let's watch that again. But notice, one, how wildly erratic that sea surface temperature is, or sea surface level is, pardon me, not temperature, for the meteotsunami versus the seiche. Let's watch this one more time. So we've got this pressure cell moving through, this front moving through, causing this basically depression of the water surface. One more time. Whereas with the seiche, it's just wind pushing and piling that water up somewhere else, and then when that wind dies off, it sloshes back and forth. So that's kind of the main difference there. They're formed by very similar things, but they've got some distinct differences between the two of them. And that's going to do it for this video. So that's the third that we have right now. We talked about derechas, we talked about dust storms, haboobs, and sandstorms, and now we've talked about meteotsunamis and seiches. I hope this was interesting, kind of a nice change from the norm, talking about some weird, wacky weather. But in the next groups, we're going to look at kind of real world weather data and then how we start to predict weather moving in towards the later portions of the semester here. So we're in the home stretch. But hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you.